All right, so Nolan, we're going to start off. You're Nolan, I'm Kevin. Nice to meet you. So we are doing a survey. What is the purpose or meaning of life? How would you answer that question?
I would say there is no solid meaning. I would say life is more like a spiral, and if you start thinking about the meaning of things too much, you can get really sucked into the everlasting glow of what individuals think and what the religions think, because it's all stories that we tell in order to make ourselves feel better, I think, and when we start thinking about these things too much, it can get really overwhelming for a lot of people. But I would like to hear your hypothesis.
And that's, I do agree that there can be like an overwhelming nature of it, because then it's like, why am I eating cereal? Why am I doing this? Like, it can be overwhelming of like, what's the purpose of everything I do? You said it depends on the person and such. Like for you personally, because I know you have concerns of like kind of the overarching purpose, like why do you do what you do? Like even music, like why do you do music, for example?
Well, I do it, I started it as a hobby just because I needed something to do with myself, and then it slowly, I think with music, people can get really pretentious about who they are with it, and they start to feel like their own ego clouds everything, and they start to think they're better than everyone, and then they kind of dissociate a little bit. I have trouble with that personally. I feel really dissociated and alienated from a lot of people, and therefore the meaning of my life starts to hold less value as a result of my ego.
So you've almost, would you say you've stepped away from music because of the culture?
A little bit. I still enjoy listening to it a lot, but I've been playing alone for years now, and it's been a little overwhelming just playing alone all the time, you know?
It's lonely, and even music, and even just in general, like we're meant to do things with other people. We're definitely not meant to be like solo in life, for sure. But like, so your hobby was music, but at some level it kind of stopped being your purpose, right? Because of various reasons. And I think that one of my hypotheses is, because you shared yours, is we've tried to find purpose in things, but it's never lasting, and it's really in a lot of ways conditional. Like, so for your example with music, it's only your purpose if you enjoy it and if people around you are nice about it, if you will, right? So it's almost like transient and changing constantly. And I think there's different seasons of life, of hobbies, careers, relationships, things like that. But do you believe that there is possibly an overarching purpose for humanity as a whole? What do you think about that?
Well, I sometimes think that we're all on a computer, honestly. I take a lot of psychedelics, and they kind of make you see some odd things that maybe you wouldn't consider in your personal life. Like I took DMT pretty recently, which is a drug that almost makes you see God or hallucinate that there is a God, and it feels more real than real, honestly, if you take DMT. And I think it's all just kind of a test, it feels like to me sometimes, or like we're constantly running some sort of calculation for I don't know what purpose exactly. I don't know if there is a purpose, but I know that everything is running, and the fact that we are in a spiral, the fact that we're constantly moving is evidence enough to say that there is some sort of meaning, I guess, you know.
Okay, so you think there's something out there,
something,
potentially,
I don't know what, I don't know.
So it's, would you, because I've heard this before, would you say almost we're in a simulation? Is that more of where you're
yeah. I think there's quantum computing that's going to be available in like 10 to 15 years or something, and they have these weird states of superposition, which is like in a state between being and not being. And if you kind of think about it, we're all in this weird state of superposition, aren't we? Because we're all like in a state of existence and non-existence at the same time, depending on variables like time. You know, there's different dimensions that kind of play into different factors and stuff. But I'm not a scientist. I don't know anything, right? You know.
You mentioned about like even on psychedelics, you see, or at least see images of God of some sort.
I go crazy on psychedelics. I'm a little crazy.
So you mentioned like you named it God. Do you believe that a God exists?
I think we're all God. I think everything is God in its own realm, in its own weird way. I think there will be a merging of everything when we die. That's what I like to believe. I don't believe that it's all darkness, because that's depressing, you know. But I believe that when we all die, everything comes into one state that's not clouded by any sort of ego, and we're all much more fulfilled, I guess. You know?
And you mentioned like you like to believe that, but is there like a foundation of truth that you build that belief on, or is it more of just like, I hope this is it because that was what makes
There's no
sense?
foundation of truth.
Okay.
We don't have any foundation of truth. It's all just our own beliefs and all. That's all that religion is. It's all just a foundation.
But I think
a lot of these religions were based off psychedelics. Actually, people taking psychedelics and writing
there were
stories
some
about
that were definitely
a lot
built
of them
on
were
that.
definitely.
Agreed.
Yeah,
Agreed.
yeah.
I actually don't dispute you on that point. And psychedelics do have, I mean, it's called in the Greek even pharmakia. Like there is an impact to our minds and even our souls through that potentially. But what I think is important to note that there is a truth that is out there, and we shouldn't be basing on emotions, but rather looking for where is the foundation of truth. Do you believe that there is a truth possible?
Maybe.
You may not have found it, but you believe it's possible.
I think if we look far enough, if computers can do enough calculations, we can probably eventually ascend to another dimension and find more about our current reality. But I don't, we don't know. We can't say
so you're
now.
talking about ascending to it to find, right?
Yeah.
But what I would propose to you is that God, the God that is all created all these things, didn't say, come up to me and find me. God actually came down to show himself, to show truth to us.
Who?
God.
God?
Yes.
Are we all God? Or do you think there's one God?
So I believe there is one God. So we all are made.
What does
in
he look
God's,
like?
So we are made in God's image.
Yeah.
So you and I, like, we have characteristics, like we are made for a relationship, like we talked about beforehand.
Yeah.
God is a relational being. We have the ability to love, to do all those things in a relationship. So we are made in God's image, but we are not God themselves, because if you look at it, there's created and there's creators. You can't be both. Does that make sense?
I think we're all God and Satan in our own ways. I think we're both an image of both. Whoever we decide to be, we can be God or Satan.
We do have a choice of who we follow, right? Because do you believe in Satan, it sounds like?
No, but I believe in good and bad.
Okay, good and bad.
I think there's choices that we all make that can contribute to our goodness or our badness. It's a tough distinction, though, especially because I like to inherently view everyone as a good person, and everyone just makes mistakes, and a lot of our thoughts can sometimes overwhelm us, and a lot of us can go crazy and do horrible things as a result of that craziness.
It's true. And so the good and bad, though, what is the standard of that good and bad is the question. Because you may have a different standard than the 100 people around you.
Yeah.
Right? So there has to be one standard, and that standard is God himself. Whether you believe in him or not, we are judged by him. And so, for example, the 10 Commandments, like, do not steal. Have you ever stolen anything before?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have too. Have you ever lied before?
Yeah.
I've done it lots of times as well.
Yeah.
So that's just 2 of the 10. We could go on and we would fail, both you and I, all 10. Those are against God, that we are.
But is this the Christian religion we're talking about?
Yes, we follow Jesus.
So that's who you follow, then.
Okay.
Yeah, but there are other, I believe more in Buddhism. I follow the Eastern traditions a little more, because I think Western religion kind of goes from the top down, where we look up blindly to a faith, and then whereas Buddhism is more, you start on the bottom, you start with yourself, and then you try and work your way up towards something that's maybe more like the Dalai Lama, for instance. He tries to help people in his own ways, and I honestly am not too educated about even Eastern or Western religion too much. I'm trying to read the Bible a little more just to get more
it's important, and I've read like the 4 spiritual laws, the Vedas, things like that, because I do want to be aware. And I think there are people that just believe blindly in God, and I think that is dangerous.
That's
actually
a problem. Yeah, it is.
And I think it is important to understand the aspects. But if you look at the Buddhist religion, and I know you said you're not super aware of it, but basically the summary that from my reading of it is basically you have to remove all desires. That's the precipice or the goal to get to this like nirvana, this peace.
Yeah, so meditation is key.
Correct.
Usually,
it's meditation, meditation, not occasion.
Yeah.
So meditation is key. So it's all about doing these things. But does anyone actually reach it? If you read the
Buddha did in his, that's a state of enlightenment, is to reach the Buddha.
But then there is no others that have even a claim to achieve it.
Yeah.
It's unachievable.
It's all unachievable. We can't be God.
Correct.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I would say every single religion is really similar.
Yeah.
It's all about doing things, like you said, from the bottom up.
Yeah, yeah.
What I am saying is that none of us can actually achieve God by ourselves. That you cannot be good enough.
No,
I cannot be good enough.
No.
But there is one who was good, and that is Jesus himself.